بسم الله والحمد لله والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تمسك بسنن إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد, after praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sending the salutations upon the Messenger alayhi salatu wassalam, and upon his family, his companions, and upon all those who follow upon his guidance into the establishment of the last day. To proceed, ikhwan, Allahumma inna na'udhu bika min ilmin la yanfa' wa min qalbin la yakhsha' wa min nafsin la tashfa' wa min du'a'in la yusma'. Verily Allah, wa min du'a'in la yasma' wa min du'a'in la yusma'. Now, هذا مشهور. Verily Allah, we seek refuge with knowledge that has no benefit, from a heart that has no fear, and from a soul that has no satisfaction, no contentment, and from a dua that goes unanswered, and from a dua that goes unanswered. To proceed, ikhwan, فأولا أتأسف على التأخير، فهذا ليس من آداب طلبة العلم، فلذلك أتأسف وأطلب منكم ماذا السماحة، أطلب منكم السماحة. So before we begin tonight's lesson, we apologize to our brothers and sisters for our lateness, but really that's not from the manners and the adab of the students of knowledge. So we seek a pardon from our brothers and our sisters, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and yaghfir lana jami'a, and yaghfir lana jami'a, that he forgives and pardons all of us. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. طيب ولأصحاب الكتب بحمد الله إلى صفحة 182. طيب إلى 183. So for those that have the book, we have arrived at page number 183. بل 184 هذا page number 184, I believe, was the last page we had the honor to benefit from. أي صفحة? What page يا أخوان؟ طيب بل 185, rather page number 185. كنا التي قبلها, we completed the exercise before that. والحمد لله رب العالمين. طيب أبا زبير اقرأ الكلمات. So read the words here, inshallah ta'ala. نأكل, we eat, or we are eating. نعم. طيب نستقبل, we welcome or we greet. We welcome or we greet. نعم. نتمكن is we are sure, we are affirmed, we are positive. نعم. نعالج باللام. نعالج. We are treating, we are remedying, from the verb alaja, to remedy or to treat. نعم. نشاهد, we are witnessing. شيخ شعيب السلام عليكم تفضل. نركب, we are riding, getting on. It can be we are getting on like a car or riding beast, or it can be we are riding. تفضل. نقرأ, we are reading or we are reciting. We are reading or we are reciting. نستفيد. Allah Akbar. We are benefiting. We are gaining or we are benefiting. طيب هذه الفائدة يا اخوان. Write down this benefit. والحمد لله رب العالمين. طيب بالنسبة إلى المضارع, when it comes to the present tense verb, سنركز على حروفها. We're going to focus on the present tense verb, the مضارع. We're going to focus on its letters, the letters of the مضارع, meaning بداية مضارع, meaning the beginning of the مضارع, the beginning of the مضارع. فعلينا أن نركز على كلمة أنيت أو على حروف المضارع. So we're going to focus on the letters of the مضارع, and they are ألف, تا, ألف, نون, تا, يا, ألف, نون, تا, يا. نعم بقي واحد يا إخوان, and there's one more. ألف, نون, تا, يا. طيب لا بأس. طيب, so the focus on the مضارع is letters, the ألف, the نون, the تا, and the يا. طيب الألف لأنا من وأبدا. The ألف is always for I, all the time. The ألف is always going to be for I, أنا. نرى ألفا على المضارع المعنى يرجع إلى المتكلم. You see the ألف on the مضارع, the meaning of this verb, whatever it is going to come back to I. The noon is always going to be يعود إلى نحن, us. The noon is going to refer to us. You see the noon? نستفيد. So whatever the meaning of the verb is, it refers back to نحن, us. طيب ثم تا. Then we have the ta. The ta can be a multitude of things. The ta can be anta, anti, antuma, antum, antunna, وهي. So the ta we're going to say كل المخاطب. كل المخاطب. The ta is going to be all of the second person, all of them. كل المخاطب, all of the second person. We're going to add here and also her. You see a ta at the beginning of the مضارع can be one of the second person, al-mukhatab. It can also be here. طيب ثم الياء. Then we have the ya. The ya is going to be جميع الغائبات, is going to be all of the third person, all of the third person. كل الغائب, الغائبات, all of the third person or third people. And we're going to say all of the third persons, third person form, except hunna, illa hunna. طيب الغائبات كلهن يذهبن. طيب لا بأس. That exception should be for the anta. We said all of the مخاطب أنتن أنتن ذهبتن أو طيب لا بأس. كل الغائبات. There's one exception for the يا إخوان. طيب لا بأس. All of the غائبات, all person. There's one exception that's not coming to me at this moment. طيب فعلينا أن نحفظ هذه الحروف. So we have to memorize these words here, or these letters here. The alif, the noon, the ta, and the ya. The letters of the mudari'. طيب so هنا هذه أفعال كلها يبدأ بالنون. So in this example, all of these verbs begin with the noon in the present tense. فالمعنى يعود إلى نحن. So their meaning is going to return back to us. Each one. And there are two more at the bottom. Nusalli, we are praying. Nusalli, we are praying. وَنَسْتَعِدُّ, نَسْتَعِدُّ, we are getting ready. We are preparing ourselves. We are getting ready. فالآن نقرأ كل جملة وأن نختار كلمة المناسبة لمعنى هذه الجملة. هذه الجملة. So we're going to read each sentence. Alhamdulillah. Choose the suitable verb to complete the meaning of this particular sentence. طيب. تفضل يا أبا زبير اقرأ الأولى. You read sentence number 1 and choose the suitable word.
طيب. فلنستعد كي blank الصلاة موعدها.
So he says, let us prepare ourselves. So, or in blank, to pray في موعدها, in its proper time. No.
طيب. فلنستعد كي نصلي صلاة في موعدها.
Let us prepare ourselves so that we can pray the prayer in its proper time. Allahu Akbar. وهذا مهم يا إخوان, and that's important. وبالنسبة إلى الصلاة توجد الأوقات. توجد الأوقات. When it comes to prayer, there are the time is of different classifications when it comes to prayer. الصلاة لها أوقات. The prayer has different times. It's not just one time for prayer. There are different times. You have al-wajib. You have بين هذا وبين هذا وجوب الصلاة. Between this time and this time, the prayer is obligatory. You have في هذا الوقت مستحبة. At this time is recommended. At this time is makruha. Is hated. The different times when it comes to prayer. The prayer has different times, يا إخوان. أوقات تتعلق بها. تتعلق بها. For those brothers and sisters studying fiqh, the prayer has different times تتعلق بها that are connected with it. Or connected to it. وهذا مهم and it's important يا إخوان. أحيانا المسلم يظن الصلاة لها لابد من وقت واحد. بها وهذا خطأ. Many of the Muslims think that the prayer is only one specific time to prayer. That's incorrect. There's a time that is recommended to pray in. The prayer comes in. Is it obligatory to pray as soon as the prayer comes in? Al-jawabu la. The answer is no. هو مستحب أن يصلي العبد صلاة عندما دخل الصلاة مباشرة. It's recommended. It's recommended to pray as soon as the prayer comes in. وهو مكروه أن يتأخر العبد متعمدا بأن يصلي الصلاة في آخرها. And it's hated for the Muslim to delay the prayer on purpose until just before the prayer goes out. You can do that, but that's hated to do. Hated. وقال بعض العلماء إذا العبد يفعل هذا متعمدا يصود القلب. And some of the scholars, they mention if the person does this on purpose, this is his pattern on purpose. Every salah, he deliberately waits until just before the ending of the prayer, that this is something that can blacken his heart on purpose. To do something hated on purpose. No one would do that. Al-aqil la yaf'alu hadha amdan. The one that has intelligence is not going to deliberately do something hated on purpose. Although there's no sin, no sin, but to deliberately do something in the manner that Allah Ta'ala is not pleased with, this can eventually blacken the person's heart. Wallahu alam. And Allah knows. طيب, who we have with us tonight? طيب, Sheikh Nakir is not with us. طيب, number 2. Here, okay, blank min ad-dars. Let us listen so that we can blank from the lesson. فلنستمع كي نستفيد من الدرس. Let us listen. Let us pay attention. Let us listen. MashaAllah. So we can benefit from the class. أحيانا المسلم يظن عليه أن يتكلم وهو يتكلم كثير وهذا لا يستحب. عليه أحيانا أن يسكت. Nowadays it's the opposite. The Muslim thinks, I have to say something. I have to talk. He loves hearing himself. She loves hearing herself. And he thinks this is from knowledge. I always have to talk. No. Sometimes you have to shut up and you have to listen. خاصة طلبة العلم, especially students of knowledge. ليس عليك أن تجيب على كل شيء. It's not upon you to answer every question. جاء إليك سؤال والسؤال فعليك أن تظن لأنك من طلبة العلم عليك أن تجيب على كل هذا السؤال. لا. العلماء ليس هكذا. So a question comes to you, and a question comes to you again, and another question comes to you. So you think, since you're a student of knowledge, it's upon you to answer every question. The answer is no. And that's not from the manners of the people of knowledge. Min as-salaf wal khalaf. Not from the scholars of the salaf, from those imams of the past, nor from those that came after them. أحيانا ننسى أمرا جديد أو أمرا عظيم. Sometimes we forget a tremendous. وهذا القول اذهب إلى غيري. And that issue that many of us forget, and this advice for myself and my sister, secondly, this statement, ask someone else. Go to such and such. جاءت مسألة إلى الإمام ابن باز رحمه الله تعالى من كبار علماء هذا العصر. And Imam Ibn Baz, all of us know his position, alhamdulillah. He's from the elite scholars of this era. Any scholar you mentioned today, Sheikh Ibn Abbas is higher than, most likely. He's from the elite of the scholars of our time, of our era. فجاءت مسألة إليه, a question came to him. فقال اذهب إلى الفوزان. So the question came, Sheikh Ibn Abbas said, go to Sheikh Fawzan. فجاء المسألة إلى الإمام الفوزان فقال اذهب إلى الشيخ عبد الله القديان. So Sheikh Fawzan, the issue came to him. So he said, go to Sheikh Abdullah al-Qudiyan. فذهبت المسألة إلى الشيخ قديان فقال اذهب إلى غيري. So then he said, go to Sheikh such and such and Sheikh such and such. فالعلماء لا يجيبون على كل مسألة يا أخوان. So the point here is that the scholars don't answer every question. وأحيانا وهذا أمر ثاني, and this is a second point. ننساه أو كثير منا ينساه, that most of us forget. If all of us, most of us forget. أن يرضى بجواب أخينا ولو نخالفه. In this point here, we're going to write this one down as another benefit. The first one was اذهب إلى غيري. Memorize this, يا إخوان. Go to someone. Go to someone besides me. Even if you know the answer, it's going to humble you tremendously. Go to student such and such. Go to such and such. A question comes to you, you don't have to answer every question. Many of us, we want the people to think that we're so knowledgeable. Knowledge is not like that. Knowledge is not a show off. Never. So memorize this statement, ya ikhwan. Go to someone else or someone besides me. Literally. Allahu Akbar. The second point, many of us forget this, that your brother gives an answer to a question, and that question suffices, even if you differ. Our beloved brother Abu Sajid, وهو محبوب عندنا والله هو في قلبي وعائلته في قلبي وإذا يمكنني أن أفعل أي شيء له على عين الرأس. For example, our beloved brother who was dear to us is in my heart. His family is in my heart. If there's anything I can do for our brother or his family, على عين الرأس, then I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. Our beloved brother Abu Sajid, for example. And there are others, but he is dear to me. And there are others that are also. Abdul Hafiz, mashallah. There are many, I can mention many. That's an example. So, سئل أخونا إمامنا وحبيبنا أبو ساجد مسألة ما وهو أجاب وذكر آية وحديثا ثم أسأل نفس المسألة أتت إلي أنا فأقول جواب أخانا أو جواب أخينا كاف، أنا معه في هذا الجواب. هذا عظيم، وهذا يجعل القلوب ماذا لاصقة. طيب, so an issue comes to our beloved brother Abu Sajid, who we love. He gives his answer. He mentions his proofs from the Quran, from the Sunnah. That's his answer. So now the same question comes to you. You know someone else preceded you in answering it, so you're sufficient with that reply. What my brother said is suffice. Even if you differ, you may say, oh, I would add to that such and such and such and such. No problem. But his answer is sufficient. That's an issue that many of the students of knowledge of today, we have forgotten about. This Imam answers the question, and he's correct. We're not talking about if he's wrong. لا. هذا مسألة أخرى. That's another issue. هو أجاب وهو على صواب. The person answered, and they answered correctly. Right? Even though scholars may differ. Some scholars say this, some scholars say that. No problem. You say, هذا كافي. That's sufficient. Alhamdulillah. Next issue. There's something that many of the companions of the Messenger ﷺ suffice themselves with. That's 2 points that many of us forget. To say, go to someone else. And then to, with the reply of your brother, of your sister. Someone says, oh, sister such and such answered that question before. She said, that's a... Alhamdulillah. Next issue. This is something that unites the hearts. It also shows the people, oh, those students of knowledge are together. Not like today, where almost the students of knowledge in the West who are upon the da'wah are into two different groups. Two different groups. These students of knowledge, they have those students of knowledge that are with them. And then these students of knowledge, they have those students of knowledge that are with them. But they all call to the same methodology. And that's not correct. طيب والله أعلم. And Allah knows best. طيب فضي أبا زبير الثالثة, number 3.
فلنصل مبكرين كي blank شيئا من القرآن.
So let's arrive early so that we can blank something from the Quran.
فلنصل مبكرين كي نقرأ شيئا من القرآن.
Okay, نقرأ. So let us arrive early so we can read the Quran. Allahu Akbar ya akhi. Allahu Akbar. الرابعة, number 4. فلنتطيب. Okay, blank لصلاة الجمعة. So let us perfume ourselves or in order for blank for the prayer of Jumu'ah. For the prayer of Jumu'ah. طيب. فلنتطيب كي نستقبل لصلاة الجمعة. طيب مش عارف. طيب. So you can say that, but it might be another better one. So we said, let us perfume ourselves so that we can welcome the Salat al-Jumu'ah prayer. You see another one that's better than that, Abu Zubayr? Okay, okay. طيب. فلنتطيب كي نستعد لصلاة الجمعة. Let ourselves so we prepare for the Jumu'ah prayer, so that we can prepare. You can also say so we can welcome, but that lamb, this lamb here would not have been there. You could welcome the salah. You can actually put nasta'id too. Hey, nasta'idda is better. You can welcome the salah. You can do that. Prepare yourselves before you stand in front of Allah. You're welcoming the prayer. The person is something that many of us fail to do. Where you get ready for the salah, and this is humbling, ya ikhwan. You get ready for the salah before the salah comes in. And that's something that many of the companions were upon. That they weren't like us, where we don't get ready until the Imam says, Allahu Akbar. We're on our phones, checking our email, talking or this or that, until we hear, Allahu Akbar, ashhadu an la. Most of us, until we hear, Allahu Akbar. But the Imams of the past will get ready for the prayer before the prayer came in. Nowadays, you tell your wife, I'm going to the salah to get ready for prayer. She says, oh, you got a half hour. Why are you going now? But in the past, they would get their khushu', they would get their hearts together before the prayer came in. Some of them, while they're making wudu, they're afraid. What's going on? What's wrong? I'm about to stand in front of Allah. Allahu Akbar. And when you think about it, that's humbling, ya ikhwan. To present your, to make sure your clothes are presentable. You're standing in front of Allah. Doesn't mean you have to wear a brand new clothes. No. But you're going to present yourself. If you went to an interview, you wouldn't wear your pajamas to pray, and your pajamas to that interview. But we wear our pajamas to prayer. It's allowed. Don't get me wrong. It's allowed. But where's the isti'dad lil hudur amam Allah? The preparation for you standing in front of Allah. Where's your thobe? Where's your izar? Where's your kufi? Where's your imama? You're going to look presentable. You're standing in front of Allah. This is the salah. But the value of the prayer has reduced in the eyesight of many of us. We'll clean our cars before we clean our prayer area. We'll clean our this or our that before we clean our masjid. We'll prepare ourselves for an interview, a sit down, or this or that. We'll present ourselves in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you could say to welcome the salah, but this lamb wouldn't be there. It would have been the salah. Salah.
Now the word mustaqbala, is it considered welcome to the tag and not acceptance?
Origin in this verb would be istaqbala. Istaqbala. So welcome. Or you can say to receive. For example, say someone is traveling. Sometimes this happens when Sheikh used to come countries. Someone says, Man yastaqbilu Sheikh. Who's going to receive the Sheikh? Who's going to welcome him? He's traveling. And most of the time we picture ulama when they come to America in hotels. But usually you can do something more honorable than that, where a family hosts him. I remember the Sheikh Abu Dujanna who's there in New York. When we were in Atlantic City, we were trying to bring the Sheikh to Atlantic City for a weekend and so to give some classes. One of the students of Sheikh Muqbil, who's still there today, that we forget about. Sheikh Abu Dujanna, Hafidullah, holding, mashallah, there in Brooklyn, at Masjid Al-Albani. Speaks Arabic, his community is Arab. You benefit tremendously. You visit his masjid, it's like being overseas. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. So you say, who's going to welcome the Sheikh? Man yastaqbiluhu. Who's going to receive him? Who's going to welcome him? Who's going to host him? So this family says, okay, listen, my wife will go to her cousins and the Sheikh will come with me. Someone who's a real student of knowledge is going to love to spend a weekend with the Sheikh. Just you and him. All those questions you may have, all those hadith that you don't understand, all those ayat to review with the Sheikh. This is the benefit, to get close and intimate with a scholar. Not to just ask about this and ask about that, but at the same time, to have that intimacy with him. Yeah, Sheikh, I got some personal issues. This hadith here, and now just you and the Sheikh. And that's more honorable than putting him in a hotel. Because now you can benefit from him. Allah. So welcome. Abu Dujanna. Maybe one day we try to get a car, man, and go out. He's in New York, in Brooklyn. Inshallah. Me and the brother Mujahid used to go visit the Sheikh. Abu Dujanna, holding from the students of Sheikh Muqbil, Sheikh Yahya, alhamdulillah. He comes back and forth often to America. Alhamdulillah. His Masjid Al-Albani, I believe, is in Brooklyn. Now, holding him, ya ikhwan. The brother Abu Yusuf used to translate for him years ago. MashaAllah. But he's still there, still teaching. every day. I think he takes Jumu'ah off. No. Like we used to have his WhatsApp, and we would take one night off and plug the masjid in and listen to his classes. His class all in Arabic. Inshallah, like being overseas again, ya Quran. Alhamdulillah. Number 5, تفضل. تفضل أبو زبير. لا بقى.
Number 5,
نعم. So let us work. Now, let us work or let us perform a test, an examination, in order to blank the sick. In order to blank the sick. Amin wa yaki wa yaki wa yaki.
فنعمل فحصا كي نعالج مرضى.
نعالج. Ahsant. Let us perform a نعالج. A fahs is an examination, but it's usually a test like in the medical form. You could say that. Al-fahs. Examination or a test. No. الفحص. No. And the word عالج, to treat, remedy. Someone has a headache, you give them a Tylenol, وعالجه, treating him, or تعالجها. طيب السادسة number 6 فلنذهب إلى الملعب كي نشاهد اللاعبين. Let's go to the playground in order to witness those who are playing. اللاعبين. شاهد means to witness. No. السابعة number 7 تفضل.
وجه إلى المطار كي بلانك زائرة.
نعم. Let us go to, or let us go toward, can also be to go to the airport in order to blank the visitor.
وجه إلى المطار كي نتمكن.
Something better. Something about a visitor. You go into a city or country and someone does this, usually they have manners. They know you're coming. They usually do this to you. Like we mentioned. I sent an nastaqbal, to welcome, to receive you. You're traveling. Muslims, we used to have manners. So someone is traveling, you know they're traveling, you're going to welcome them. Someone goes to a masjid and they're traveling, you're going to welcome them. يستقبله. The person يستقبله. they receives them, especially in the airport. Those people that are traveling, you see those people waiting with those signs. Usually in New York, inshallah, they're receiving them, they're welcoming them. طيب, a benefit يا إخوان, فائدة بالنسبة إلى كلمة توجه. Write this down يا إخوان. The word توجه has a few meanings and they're similar. طيب, توجه can mean to go. توجه, it can also mean the face. It can also mean go towards. No. توجه. Just like the verb استقبل, another benefit. We mentioned it can mean to receive, to welcome. This can also mean to face, to turn toward. No. استقبل can also mean, we mentioned, to welcome. It can also mean to face. It can also mean to turn toward, which would be similar to the face. You can say to someone, توجه القبلة. توجه القبلة. You can say, استقبل القبلة. Face the qibla. No. You can also say to someone going, أنت تتوجه إلى المسجد. You're going to the masjid. And that meaning can also mean, are you going towards the masjid? So it can depend on the context. So here he uses it as to go. فلنتوجه. Let us go to the airport. Why? كي نستقبل الزائر. So that we can welcome the visitor. No. طيب. الثامنة, number 8. فلندخل المطعم. Okay, blank الطعام. Let us enter the restaurant in order to blank the food. فلندخل المطعم. Okay, نأكل الطعام. Let us enter the restaurant in order or can eat the food. المطعم is the restaurant. No. كلمة طعام, the word المطعم is the restaurant, the place designed for making food or cooking food. المطعم, the restaurant. المطعم. المطعم. طيب, التاسعة, number 9. تفضل.
طيب. فلنسرع كي
الحافلة. Let us hurry. Let us hasten in order to blank الحافلة, so we can blank the bus.
فلنسرع كي نركب حافلة.
كي نركب. Let us hurry so that we can bus, so we can ride, get on the bus. Our sentence. العاشرة, number 10. فلنحجز كي من سفر. Let us make reservations so that we can blank from the trip. فلنحجز كي نتمكن من سفر. Let us make reservations so that we can be certain or be sure regarding the trip. No. أحسنتم. طيب الشاهد هنا يا إخوان كلمة لي وكلمة كي. The point in this drill here, the particle, the li, on the fi'l, li, is called lamu al-amr. Lamu al-amr is the lam of command. فهي تقع في المضارع. It usually falls on the present tense verb. This lam usually falls on the present tense verb called the lamu al-amr, the lam of command. His name is the lam of command. Lam al-amr. It comes on the mudari', like when you say, for example, li atakallam, li atakallam. The person says, li atakallam, li atakallam. Let me talk. Li atakallam. This lam is the lam of command. Li atakallam. This lam is the lam of command. And it makes the fi'l mudari' majzoom. It makes it jusif. So it ends in sukoon, or what takes the place of sukoon. Let me talk. ليتكلم. Let me talk. Overtalk you. The brother's trying to overtalk you. You say, يا أخي ليتكلم. Let me talk. Let me finish. لأكمل. So when you're using it to yourself, it's like a small command to yourself. You're not commanding yourself, but it's like you're commanding yourself. And it's understood or translated to be let. It's the best translation in English. Let. If you were to say, for example, li as'alka su'alan. If you were to say this to an Arab, he's going to say, oh, mashallah, I can tell you're studying Arab. Use that sentence. Arab, li as'alka su'alan. You keep the structure. You say as'alka, it'll be like let, or can I ask you a question? In this phrase or this structure here, he's going to say, oh, alhamdulillah, you're studying Arabic in America. Allahu Akbar. Nice, because of the structure. Li as'alka. For example, there are some principles in Arabic no one uses except the scholars and the students of knowledge. Sheikh Mubi used to say to his daughter, Abdullah al-Wadi'iyya, hafidhahullah wa rahimahullah, ala Sheikh, may Allah preserve her and may Allah have mercy on the Sheikh. He would say the meaning, don't study grammar and speak like those who do not. So you don't learn to show off. No, that's haram. But there are usually traces that you're learning, especially in language. The more Arabic you study, the least you're going to make grammatical mistakes. The more you study, the more it's going to protect your tongue from making error. But learning how to use this, how to say that, why learn it if you're not going to benefit from it? For example, when we get to in grammar, there's something called the badal, al-badal, al-badal. And there are different badals, different types, different reasons to use them. Not just one. Different types of badal. Al-badal, the substitute. One badal that comes to our mind is called, I think it's called al-badal kullu min al-kull, the substitute of all of a thing for that same thing. For example, like, then there's another badal called badalu al-ghalata, the substitute of a mistake. You say something, and then while you're saying it, you realize you're saying something wrong, so you change it. For example, you say, you're never going to see this, Yahweh, except from the scholars and the students of knowledge. You're saying something, and while you're saying it, you realize you're wrong. So you say in English, you're calling your son, and you say, "Oh, Abdullah Nuhaim." So in English, you say, "Ya Abdullah Nuhaim." One of my sons named Abdullah, one is named Nuhaim. So while you're calling Abdullah, you didn't really intend to say Abdullah, but your tongue. So you say, "Ya Abdullah Nuhaim." In Arabic, you say, "Ya Abdullah." And then right after that, you Nuhaim. You're not saying that Nuhaim is Abdullah. No, you made an error. Abdullah. And then while you realize you made that error, you change it. It's called the badalu al-ghalata, the badal of mistake. Then there's another badal. You say something, you didn't make a mistake, but you realize that when you said it, that you were wrong. You didn't make a mistake because you thought it was one thing, but then it becomes apparent to you as something else. So say you see the brother far away, and you say, "Ya Aba Zubayr," call it, like he's walking towards you. And from a distance, you think it's Abu Zubayr. But then as he gets closer, you realize, oh, that's Khalid. So you say, "Yeah, Assalamu alaikum, Ya Aba Zubayr, Khalid." That's another way to use the badal. You narrate the hadith and you say, "An Aishata an Abi Hurairata." You say, "An Aishata Abi Hurairata radiyallahu an." That's another way. You're narrating it and then you make a mistake. Your tongue, your mind intend, your heart intends something else, but your tongue slips and says something else. And then you correct it. Like that. And then you have the substitute of part of the thing or part of the whole of the thing. There are many types. My point is, you learn these points and you never use them. And what's the benefit? You learn, you're studying Arabic, you never speak Arabic. Your wife, your children, your companions, you never speak to them in Arabic. So, although that's not your goal only to speak, but it's part of it. Why not speak? You're studying these words, so use them. You write the words 25 times, but you never use them. You're going to forget. Writing is just a tool to help us memorize. If you haven't learned it by 25 times of writing, write it again 25 more times. Some of our sisters on the new marriage and divorce class, alhamdulillah, they kill their homework. Allahu Akbar. Some of them, the same day, their homework is done. Alhamdulillah. And then sometimes you ask them, "What's the word?" She said, "Oh, I don't know." But you wrote it times. Yep, I wrote it. No, the goal of writing is to help you learn it. So if you write it 100 times and you still don't have it, no problem. Write it 20 more times. And then tomorrow, write it 20 more times. The goal is for us to learn. That's why we seek knowledge. We're not trying to show off. We don't want no money. We don't want no women. We don't want no status. We don't want no position. We don't want no key to no masjid. We don't want no key to no closet to get the vacuum out. No. You seek knowledge for Allah's sake. If Allah gives you a position, that's from Allah. You didn't seek it. Allah gives you a key to a masjid. You didn't seek it. Or you get the key to the vacuum. You didn't seek that. You get a position. You're going to teach. Alhamdulillah. You didn't seek that. That's from Allah. You're seeking the reward of your Lord. That's it. Knowledge doesn't make the person arrogant. No, that's us on our low level, our 3 hadith, our 40 hadith that we learned, or that a Muslim learns in grade school. Alhamdulillah. That your children learn while they're children. Alhamdulillah. We learned 3 hadith, and now we're Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Qayyim, the women of Aisha, Khadija. La. You have 3 hadith, alhamdulillah. That's a blessing. But to think you're someone now, and most of the times we compare ourselves to people who are under us. Of course you're better than them. Look at who you're comparing yourself to, ya akhi. Alhamdulillah. Not like that. Compare yourself to the Salaf. Compare yourself to the great Imams of the past. And this is something that many of us don't do. That's why we think we have knowledge. That's why everyone's a sheikh now, especially in Philadelphia, in our city. Everyone's a sheikh. Everyone. If the person deserves the word, alhamdulillah, no problem. But many of us are shuyukh, and our classes are still empty. Our masajid are still empty. And we're still ignorant. So how are we still ignorant, but now all of us are shuyukh, and our classes are empty, but all of us are shuyukh, and our masajid are empty, and everyone's a sheikh? How? How? We skip over being students of knowledge, and now everyone's a sheikh. Alhamdulillah, there's nothing wrong with saying brother. If you want to say mudarris, he's my teacher, ustad, it's better not to say ustad, because that's not an Arabic word. But you say mudarris. If the person is older in age, you say sheikh, no problem. And I'm not saying nobody can be a sheikh. I'm just saying that now, overnight, everyone's a sheikh. Everyone. May Allah help us all for him. I remember our Sheikh Mukbal was asked a question, and the question is, "Ya Sheikh, أنا ما تلقيتك أبدا, ولكنني أستفيد بك وأشرطتك. فهل يجوز لي أن أسميك شيخا لي?" A tremendous question. One of the brothers from the UK, I believe, somewhere in the UK, he said, "Oh Sheikh," he was talking to Sheikh Mukbal, rahimahullah. He says, "Oh Sheikh, I've never met you in my life. Never. My eyes have never seen you. But I learned a great deal from reading your books and listening to your audio. So, can I call you my sheikh? You're my sheikh, although I never met you, but I've been in your works and I listened to your audio." So the sheikh says, "نعم هذا السؤال يجوز أن تسميك شيخا." نعم هذا يجوز. He says, yes, your question is allowed that you call me your sheikh. You benefited from me, although you never met me, you call me your sheikh. He says, ولكن الأولى أن تسميك أخا لك. He says, but it's better that you call me your brother. Allahu Akbar. So those that have the right to be called this term, this prestigious term, they usually shy away from it. We want to be called that. And the people who deserve it usually they turn away from it. Nowadays, a brother won't answer you until you say, Salaam alaikum ya Shaykh. Then, oh, mashallah, wa alaikum salam. When the great scholars talk, the Shaykh doesn't call himself Shaykh Albani. He doesn't write from Shaykh Al-Albani. No, he doesn't write that. When Shaykh Fawzan, he doesn't write from Shaykh Al-Fawzan, from Shaykh Ali Shaykh, from Shaykh Saleh Ali Shaykh, from no. They refer to themselves not like that. But we are the opposite. We want to praise that most of us haven't deserved. And it's nothing wrong with being a brother. Or if you want to say someone is your mudarris or use the word ustad, that's okay also. But not to use the word ustad is better, because ustad is actually an Arabic word. Wallahu alam. And Allah knows best. But it can be used as a teacher. It can also be used as a professor. So let's take one more benefit, inshallah. Ikhwan. Khamisan, fifthly, istami' wa raddid. Listen and repeat. So now we're just going to read, and we'll take turns, inshallah. We'll read, take some benefit, translate, inshallah. But كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يحب الطيب. The Prophet used to love al-طيب. He used to love fragrance and musks, oils. He used to love al-طيب. Al-طيب, fragrance. No, for that as obey. Number 2.
كان محمد يقرأ الكتاب.
Mahmoud used to read the book. Used to read the book. كان يوسف يتناول جبناء والبيضاء. جبناء والبيضاء. So Yusuf, Yunus. كان يونس يتناول الجبناء والبيضاء. Yunus used to consume al-juban, the cheese and eggs. Tanawala, it can be to eat, but it's also to consume, to put something in your mouth. It doesn't have to be you eating it, it doesn't have to be food, or it can, no. Number 4, تفضل.
كان الطفل يحب حليب.
So the child, the infant child used to love al-halib, used to love milk, used to love al-halib. No. كانت الحافلة تسرع في الطريق. The bus used to hasten in the path, used to go quickly in the path. كانت الحافلة. No. Number 6.
كان سليم يسكن في
الفندق. Salim used to live in the hotel. Salim يسكن أو كان يسكن, he used to live في الفندق. كان يبكر في الحضور. The student used to come early or used to be early in arrival. Used to arrive early. Nowadays, no one comes early. Number 8.
كان الطبيب يفحص مريضه.
So the doctor used to examine the sick. The word, we learned the noun earlier, al-fahsu. Now we have the verb, fahasa. Fahasa. Examine. Fahasa. So we learned the noun earlier, al-fahsu. Now we have the verb. فحص. To examine. فحص. In the present فحص. And the مضارع يفحص. يفحص. Also the verb كان as a masculine and feminine. It's a principles. كان verb to be. Usually understood to be he was. It's the verb to be. So in the past, he was. The verb to be. And the مضارع, you say يكون. He is or it is. كان يكون. If it's feminine, كانت. If the doer is feminine, it becomes كانت. She was or it was feminine. And Aisha Muslimatan. Aisha was a Muslim. كانت خديجة مدرسة. Khadija was a teacher. كانت, she was. No. طيب التاسعة number 9. كان المؤذن ينادي للجمعة. The مؤذن used to call للجمعة. Used to call meaning the adhan for جمعة, the prayer of gathering. كان المؤذن ينادي للجمعة. The مؤذن used to call for the جمعة. No.
كان محمود يصلي في حجرته.
Ahsant. Mahmoud pray in his room. Mahmoud pray in his room. Allahu Akbar. كان خالد يؤدي تحية المسجد. Mahmoud used to carry out the greeting of the masjid. He used to greet the masjid. A. كان يصلي ركعتين. Meaning he used to pray 2 raka'ah tahiyatan lil masjid as a greeting, if you will, to the masjid. طيب, last فائدة ننصرفها. Last benefit of tonight before we. فعل كان, the verb كان. The verb كان. كان يجعل الفاعل اسم. طيب. So what كان does, it makes the doer the ism. It turns the doer into the noun. So you're going to say مثلا كان يرفع المبتدئ. So كان well, this should be a well, يرفع المبتدئ. There's two parts to kana, but he only did one part, so we may just mention the one and save the second part for the next part. kana yarfa'u al-mubtadi'. It raises, it makes the subject and the nominative case. Raises the mubtadi', the subject. Meaning, when we say raises, it makes it nominative. Meaning that it ends in a dhamma. So مثلا نقول محمد مسلم. محمد مسلم. محمد مسلم. طيب ترجم يا أبا الزبير. Translate. Muhammad is a Muslim. طيب الآن محمد مبتدئ ومسلم خبر. So in this sentence, the subject is Muhammad. Muhammad is the mubtadi', the subject. So we add kana. So we say kana Muhammadun Musliman. But now the sentence is going to change some when you add kana. So kana Muhammadun Musliman. This is what kana does. So it's not like any other verb. She does something special. She makes the subject, or she leaves the subject nominative. Kana. Kana Muhammadun Musliman. And the khabar of Muhammad, Musliman, she makes mansub. So كان يرفع المبتدأ وينصب الخبر. And it makes the khabar accusative. كان محمد مسلما. So the mubtada is going to be marfu', the khabar is going to be mansub. So كان يرفع المبتدأ وينصب الخبر. And she makes the khabar accusative. يرفع المبتدأ وينصب الخبر. كان makes the subject nominative. And the khabar, the adjective, accusative. So this is the general structure or work of kana. She makes the, what looks like it's the doer, is the mubtada'. And then there's one last part. We're trying to see if we're going to use it now or not. So she makes what looks like the doer, the mubtada', it remains nominative. Ends in dhamma, or what takes the place of dhamma. But the khabar, she makes accusative. And then the khabar, last benefit of kana, the mubtada will no longer be called the mubtada. You're going to call it the ism of kana. So for example, in our sentence, kana Muhammadun mudarrisan. Muhammad was a teacher. Right? Mudarrisan. Kana Muhammadun mudarrisan. Right, Muhammad was a teacher. So Muhammad, you're not going to call the mubtada of kana. It is the mubtada. It is still the subject of the sentence. It's still the mubtada, but it's not called that. So you're going to say Muhammad is the ism of kana. Ismu kana. That's it. The noun of kana. That's it. That's it. We did the first part today. So كان يرفع المبتدأ وينصب الخبر. كان, she does two things. She makes the mubtada nominative and she makes the khabar accusative. And that mubtada is no longer called the mubtada, but it's called the ism of kana. So kana has an ism and a khabar. And that's it. All right. Bye. Inshallah. So we'll stop there, inshallah. And we'll continue, inshallah ta'ala, with Sadisan in the next exercise on page number 187. فَنَتَبْتُ فَمِنَ اللَّهِ وَنَخْتَطُ مِنْ نَفْسِي. Anything that we said that's correct is from Allah. Anything that we said that's incorrect is from ourselves. And may Allah bless you all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Some more homework, man?
Allah ta'ala give you some more and give you more. Let me see. Exercise 6. How big is number 6? Right. So complete exercise number 7. The Prophet used to love oil or musk. So you're going to trade the word Nabi for whatever's between the brackets. كان المسلم يحب الطيب. So you're going to trade exchange the word for the word that's in the bracket. Also pay attention, ikhwan. Sometimes you're going to trade the ism. Sometimes you're going to trade the verb. For example, يتعلم. So you can keep whatever words you use, كان النبي, كان Muslim. You can make it your own word too. كان المدرس, whatever it is. And then you complete the sentence. يتعلم كذا وكذا. Right? So you change whatever is between the brackets, inshallah ta'ala, and change the sentence accordingly. For example, number qira'ah. So now, for example, here you're going to trade al-tayyib. So instead of كان المسلم يحب الطيب, you're going to say كان يحب القراءة. The Muslim used to love reading. So you're going to change what's suitable. Number 1, you're going to change al-tayyib to qira'ah. Number 2, you use yata'allam, the verb. So you would, instead of saying now you will use yata'allam. Alhamdulillah. Right? So we'll just give you one exercise for tonight, inshallah, and we'll continue with our new lesson. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Kayfa taqdi yawmak? How do you spend your day? we'll stop there, inshallah. And may Allah bless you, akhi fillah. Our sister, she says, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Naam, inshallah ta'ala. Inshallah. No. May Allah bless you, Sheikh. Our brothers on the YouTube will stop there. Our Sheikh says that his iPad, no problem, ya Sheikh. Inshallah, you can go back to the audio and you can watch the lesson afterwards, inshallah. Our sister Summer, assalamu alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah bless you. So we'll stop here for the YouTube and we'll continue the next lesson, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.